So Ravens flock, Isaiah Likely is an emerging star, and like emerging stars, there's people that want to interview him. So he sat down with the interview on the Kay Adams show where they talked about a couple topics. First thing that caught my attention, like it caught many of you guys' attention, is he low key took some shots at Cincinnati that I thought was kind of funny when he implied that he didn't know what the name of their stadium is, which I'm sure most people don't. Maybe even some Bengals fans probably don't, to be honest with you. He also made a point similar to the point that I was making in my last video, where I'm just like, from my perspective, it's like, I don't think you should be too worried about if you get prime time at home or not. You should be more worried about how on earth you're gonna win, because you have not been able to win because we have simply dominated you, and the domination will continue. But that's neither here nor there. He also talked about his relationship with Lamar Jackson and how he looks at him as like a unk or a big bro, which makes sense, right? You know, Lamar's the leader of the team, so he's gonna look, not only the leader of the team, he's the best player in football, definitely the best quarterback in football. So it makes sense that he's gonna look up to him. He also talked about the fact that he's not too worried about the contract. He's just gonna let his agents handle that. And I'm very interested to see how this contract situation plays out, because of course Isaiah Likely, Tyler Linderbaum, and Kyle Hamilton are all up for contract at the same time. We already know that they've picked up Kyle Hamilton's fifth-year option. They have not picked up Tyler Linderbaum's fifth-year option, and Isaiah Likely isn't a first-round pick, so he doesn't have a fifth-year option. So this is a contract year. But I do believe the Ravens are going to pay Isaiah Likely, or at least that's what they should do. That's the common sense thing to do. He's a guy who jumps off the screen. Every time you need a clutch catch, he makes it. Even though many Ravens fans say they want a big body wide receiver who can high point the ball and make those 50-50 catches consistently, that's really what Isaiah Likely's role has been, essentially. Even though he's a tight end, we all know he's low-key like what people thought Kyle Pitts was going to be. Not that Kyle Pitts is bad. Kyle Pitts is a good player, but he's that same sort of, in my opinion, he's that same sort of mold of like a guy who is like a wide receiver trapped in a tight end's body, because he has like basically a wide receiver skill set. But I'm interested to see how much they pay Isaiah Likely. I don't think he's going to reset the tight end market, because even though his talent, in my opinion, is undeniable, he's also in a position where, because he's been sitting behind Mark, and I do think the Ravens kind of did this on purpose, to be honest with you, but because he's sitting behind Mark, he's not really going to have enough of a target share to really put the numbers up that he could put up. And I think that alone is going to cause Isaiah to not get as much as he probably should get. I still think he could make a lot though. Like, I think he'll fall somewhere in that $15 to $17 million range. Like some of the highest paid tight ends in the league, like Trey McBride, Travis Kelce, George Kittles, TJ Hawkinson. These guys, I think Isaiah Likely at this point is more talented than honestly all of those guys. Not that those guys are bad. They're all good players, but I think Isaiah is better than those guys. But those guys have had much more production than Isaiah has, and again, that's because he's been the backup up until this point. I do think that starting next season, maybe even this season, we'll see how it goes, but in the near future, Isaiah will be thrusted into the tight end one spot. I think he'll be just fine in that position. I think he'll instantly become a star at that point in that position, and I'm excited to see it. They also made Kay Adams also made mention of Steve Bisciotti keeping Isaiah Likely and Mark Andrews together. I don't think that's really gonna happen. She was making it seem like it's common sense, but I think she was more so just saying that because it just sounds like a nice thing to say. Isaiah Likely wisely didn't really touch that. Like when she asked that, he kept like a very politically correct kind of answer where he really didn't say much, and I understand why, because it makes no sense to pay two tight ends at the same time. Like, we already have run into a problem every single year where we don't have an excess of money, and we don't have an excess when it comes to cap space, because in my opinion, I don't think they've done the best job of maneuvering around the cap and deciding who to pay and when to pay them. But regardless of what I think, we never find ourselves in a position where we have a crazy amount of cap space available, and that's been the case for the past decade. So with that being the case, there's no way they're gonna pay two tight ends. Like right now, Mark Andrews is like, I think like a $16 million cap hit. Like I think on this year he's gonna make like 15 or 16 million dollars. Like they're not gonna have two tight ends making 15 to 17, 18 plus million a piece. It's just not gonna make sense. So that would most likely mean that the Ravens would let Mark Andrews walk after next year. I was expecting a trade, like many of you. I was expecting them to trade Mark, because bringing him in this year and then letting him walk next year, the Ravens won't get much value from that, other than I guess maybe a comp pick. But you know, it's a very interesting dynamic, but that's really far down the line. As far as this season, Isaiah and Mark are still going to be together, so that should still be fun to watch them on the field. I think Isaiah likely is the most slept on player in fantasy right now. Like I'm expecting Isaiah likely to have a major season. I might have to do another episode later in the summer talking about the Ravens players I think will have the best upside on fantasy. But let me know what you guys think about Isaiah Likely's interview. Did you think it was funny that he didn't know the name of the stadium the Bengals play at? Do you know what the name of the stadium the Bengals play at? And also, how much do you think he'll realistically be paid by the Ravens, assuming the Ravens re-sign him in the first place?